Let me ask you a question. What's the biggest fulfillment that you get when acting?
So we kind of harped on this earlier, but growing up, I started acting 7, 8 years ago, and I did theater mostly, live theater, and I used to love, having the audience laugh and to see their reactions and their joy from me and my castmates and all like the fun stuff we did. So it was really at first like the attention and just the overall comedy of the whole situation that really made me like acting and performance and comedy, and even modeling. I guess it doesn't really fit in that same genre. But now for me, it's about reaching new levels of, finding my own personal, like, how far will I go and what are my limits, and trying to push them and trying to get to a more vulnerable and real place so that it can show up on camera.
Nice. Now, do you think acting is similar to music in the sense that going through pain kind of makes you more interesting or better at your craft, or just entertaining altogether?
Well, I don't know if it directly harps on this, but I recently had someone say to me, it was an acting coach, he was saying that nothing makes people more uncomfortable than seeing a man be vulnerable. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because some of our favorite actors and musicians are often the most vulnerable and open to their feelings and their emotions. And I've been trying to think about how I can get there to truly be open to my audience. So I think that they do relate in terms of, music is something you really bare your soul into. For the most part, some genres of music and some artists obviously don't reach any level of deepness. But I think they relate in that sense.
So if an actor has gone through a lot of pain and struggles, that may kind of translate to his craft, you think?
Sometimes it's about using it appropriately. For example, I had this dude in my acting class, and he'd been through some stuff clearly, but he would get so upset when you would give him any kind of constructive criticism. So, when the teacher was just like generally like, oh, like you're not gonna bring like a whole bunch of props to an audition, he got like really offended and like started like yelling and like was like calling out people. And
are you serious?
Yeah, and everyone got really uncomfortable, and we were like, man, like that was just like a small note. Like imagine you're on set and like the director's like, we really need to get to that like point of, deepness and darkness, and you're like, man, screw this, I'm out of here.
Does that happen a lot in acting class?
For
People get offended easily?
For my experience, is part of the experience is to take notes. That's what we call it in acting, where it's like you get these notes and you apply them to the best of your ability, and you do your best, So I think it's just kind of like with any job, you get a performance evaluation after you do something, and then you try to apply it and become a better employee, a better actor. So I think if you're getting offended by a little note about props, it's probably not the right industry for you.
Yeah.
And hopefully that dude isn't watching and he's just like, man, that's me. Yes. Yeah.
Man, your teeth look white, man. You just whiten them or what?
Yeah, just brushed them real good, flossed them up. No, they've always been like this.
Oh, that's nice, man.
Yeah.
So are you going to do the Hollywood thing, get the new teeth at any point? Or?
Oh, man. It's crazy because I just went back to Wisconsin in December. No, actually in August.
Yeah.
And they told me, like, and I usually have this really nice dental assistant, and she's like a super Wisconsin nice lady.
Yeah.
And I had this new lady, and she's like, you should think about getting Invisalign, and like, you need to do this and that. And I was like, man, the other lady never told me that, so I guess it's just a thing of perspective. And then the real dentist comes in, he's like, hey man, good to see you, teeth look great, take care of them, see you later. And I was like, damn.
But they're always trying to sell you something.
Yeah, she was trying to sell me something, but like, that it doesn't give you a good confidence boost after like you're getting your mouth's open and she's like cutting you and your gums are bleeding, and then she's like, get Invisalign, and I'm like 25, I'm like, damn, like I'm running out of time for this kind of procedures. So
I think you're good to go, man.
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
So as someone who has lived in, you lived in London, right?
Yes.
So you've lived in London, New York, and LA.
Yes.
Give us some truths versus myths on all of those cities, starting with London.
Okay, cool. I was thinking about this question earlier. So London, I don't know what I was expecting from London, to be honest, because I initially had this plan to go out with one of my friends. It was for like college, and he like got like a D in a class, so he couldn't even go. So it ended up just being me, and I didn't want to cancel it. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm just going to London without anybody I know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I ended up going, and in terms of things that like really struck me about London, it was clean. Generally, people were pretty nice. So it kind of reminded me of Wisconsin in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think my misconception with all these places is I thought I could go there and instantly like have a group of actors and directors and like just like get shit done, and to like automatically like all my dreams would come true. So I think I had that misconception about LA, about New York, and about London. Like I would just show up and then I just like it would happen. And when I showed up to London, nothing happened. And the money was the conversion rate, the pound to the American dollar at the time, it was probably like 2015. It was like $1 was only worth like half of a pound. So I was like broke.
Is it still like that?
I believe it's a little bit less now because of the whole Brexit thing. So like I think that it matches up a little bit better with the dollar. But at the time, man, like if I wanted to get like the $5 meal or like the 5-pound meal, I was spending like $9, and I was like, man, like
damn,
this is not a deal right here. But I did some good things in London. I had an internship with a theater and film school, and at that time I had a lot of experience working with kids. You know, just teaching, and like I used to be a swim coach and like a dive coach and all these different things, like camp counselor type stuff. So I got to teach like theater and film and like these dance classes to these kids, to these little British kids. So it was kind of like interesting to see the whole different culture and what they do, and you know how the live performance, especially in London, is huge. So that kind of gave me like a love for theater and for like fringe theater, which is kind of your what we call off-Broadway or off-Broadway, which are kind of like experiment. What was the word I'm looking at? Experimentary?
Experimental?
Experiment. I was like, what am I trying to say? Experimental theater. So, you know, you'd go to like see like Macbeth in like an attic at like a pub or some shit, and it'd be like 2 people putting it on. You'd be like, what is going on here? And like, for example, I saw this thing. It was in like a train station. And I saw another one. There was just all these unique kind of crazy locations, and you know, usually there's less people and it's pretty cheap, but it's usually pretty high quality, and you'd never get that kind of stuff here in the States because there's not that much interest in theater here.
What about New York?
Except in New York. That's what I was just gonna say. Transitioning into New York. I don't think I was ready for how big of a city it was, man. Like I always knew it was like New York City, and like when I got in my taxi and from like LaGuardia, and I was like, I'm gonna make it. I was like, oh shit, like where do I even go? Like where is everything? Yeah. So it took me probably a good month just to figure out where I was going.
What part of New York did you live in?
I was in Manhattan. I was in Midtown.
Midtown Manhattan? Okay.
Yeah, but I had a lot of friends, so I would like a lot of friends in Brooklyn and in Queens from college.
Yeah.
So I would hang out with them, so that got me to understand the area a lot better. And I went to comedy school there. That was like my thing there. And I learned stand-up. Because
I didn't know you can go to comedy school.
Everyone always says that. It's a pretty unique thing. There's this guy, Steven Rosenfeld, and he's kind of like the master of like modern comedy is what they call him. He's written a bunch of books about stand-up and about comedy performance, and he's taught a lot of famous people. I guess like one of his like people is like Jim Gaffigan. You know who that dude is? Well, he's like a pretty famous Netflix comedy guy, and he does he does a lot about food. He's like kind of like a chubbier dude, and he loves just talking about Hot Pockets, and, you know, cake and pie and stuff.
I got a friend like that.
Yeah, you know, we all got.
If he's
one.
Listening, he knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about too. And so New York was great, and so I got to take these classes, and they were at night. So you know, I'd take like these 3-hour classes. It was sketch, improv, stand-up, and one other class. I forget what it was, but stand-up class was hard because we had to get up and do stand-up every single day. And so we'd be in there just like in front of our class of like 8 other people just like ripping off jokes, and like sometimes people would laugh and then you'd just be sad. But generally I learned that New York's a tough place to make it. And then LA, I learned that the sun shines bright, you gotta have a car, the opportunities are endless, you just kinda gotta put yourself in the position to make it.